James never worked for me, never was head of security for me, bitter because Tupac put him on his pockets before. And I can see he's a little bitter because Tupac put him on his pockets before.
That Tupac had knocked you out one time out of Cuba. That would have been your response if that happened.
Yeah, I'm being honest with you and everybody else. I said it on my...
So Suge Knight pretty much goes off and responds back to Mob James after he got on the stand and was asked questions about Keefe D. Now Suge Knight pretty much says that Mob James never really worked for Death Row Records at all, and he's pretty much saying Mob James is lying about everything he said. Suge Knight also explains how he's bitter because Tupac knocked him out and put him in his pockets. Now y'all do remember when Mob James was on the stand, he pretty much was asked, did you ever get knocked out by Tupac? And he said, I would have shot him, my brother, which is Buntry, and Suge Knight if that was the case. So pretty much Suge Knight is pretty much exposing that and saying Tupac did knock you out and that's why you was bitter and you pretty much did not work for me. You did not have a death row.
Now, this whole situation is extremely flamboyant, skullduggerous, and extremely larcenous. And for Mob James to sit here and say, or Keefe D or whomever to say, if Tupac would have accosted me, I would have put him in the dirt. And then now Tupac is there in the dirt after allegedly accosting him, does kind of add up to what Suge Knight is saying. I ain't gonna lie, it does make it make sense a little bit, just a little bit. But the reality of the situation is this: we're watching a day and age where all these old guys are pretty much coming out of the woodwork with their police activity and informant behavior, as you can see from the likes of Mob James, Keefe D, Whack 100. You see all these guys who are tied up into all these criminal and flamboyant activities. Seem like it's caught up with these guys, and none of these dudes are really able to stand on business or stand the testament of time when it comes to the crimes that they've committed and or the situations that they've put themselves in when it comes to, you know, this level of flamboyancy. Now, what I will say is this: Mob James and Keefe D both are in interesting situations, but only one of them has something to lose by way of jail time, which is Keefe D. I'm not really sure why Mob James is on the stand, because it seems like he's just snitching for the sport. But regardless of all things, it's interesting. It kind of just makes you wonder what's going on with these situations, what's going on with these guys.
Row chain, he was not security at Death Row. Let me know what y'all think, man. So if y'all don't remember, this is what Mob James responded to when he was asked if Tupac had knocked him out.
See, James never worked for me, never was head of security for me, bitter because Tupac put him on his pockets before. And I can see he's a little bitter because Tupac put him on his pockets before.
That Tupac had knocked you out one time out of Cuba. That would have been your response if that happened.
Yeah, I'm being honest with you and everybody else. I said it on my...
So now y'all go hear Suge Knight's response pretty much today, and he pretty much broke the news how Mob James did not work for him at all. He's getting on the stand and lying. But y'all hear what Suge Knight said, y'all.
Oh, you know, first of all, my opinion, Tupac was the most incredible person you can have as a friend, as a brother, and still today, his morals. Number one, all these guys person themselves on the oath. Number one, James never worked for me, never was head of security for me, and I can see he's a little bitter because Tupac put him on his pockets before. But the most important thing to this is that they're not coming in to get the truth. Everybody knows he's an FBI informant. Everybody knows he's a rat. So why we gotta act like he's gonna tell the truth? Don't Keefe D and James.
So hold on, I just want, you're saying that James McDonald, the guy who testified, said that he worked for Death Row Records, talked about what he saw that night. You're saying he did not work for you at all?
No. Now, he might have been at the club hanging out trying to hustle people and not putting the guy down or nothing like that, but he's an informant. He didn't work for me. If he would worked for me, he would have had a death row chain. He would have had a ring. You would have seen him in pictures around us hanging out. No. One other thing.
So let me know what y'all think, man, about...
Hey, yeah, that's a true situation because everybody on death row for sure had those distinguishable chains and or rings to let them know, like, you know, the world know that, hey, we're all a part of this.
Suge Knight saying Mob James was lying. Now, Suge Knight also previously had spoken this situation where Tupac put him in his pockets. Now, Suge Knight actually had spoke on this a year earlier. He pretty much confirms that Mob James didn't work for him, but did hustle outside the 662 Club, which Mob James did say on the stand at Keefe D's trial. So Suge already had confirmed all this, but he did also say a year ago that Mob James never worked for him or at the club, but he hustled outside. So this was all previously said. That's why Suge is coming back online again, calling Mob James a rat, a snitch, and saying he never worked for him. But the other thing I don't believe is that he did knock Tupac. Tupac knocked him out, which I don't believe. But this is what Suge Knight said, y'all, a year earlier about all these things.
We got a dude named James, and he speak on with Reggie all the time, and he said he was a day one. Definitely wasn't day one. Definitely didn't go to school with us. And the reason why a lot of people didn't go to school because back in those days it was way more Crips than it was Power Road. You can go and stand on your own, but you have to really be able to stand on your own. And you know, for James to make all these allegations about he couldn't go to elementary school because the Crips was going to come to school and get him. He was a Crip. Number one. Number two, Crips didn't come in my neighborhood and do that type of shit. Everybody stood their own, hung on their own. And, you know, I could see his bitterness because, you know, they lived in a garage with no running water on drugs. But the thing that gets me the most, people want to say something about Pac. I think Pac did more for my neighborhood than a whole bunch of people in that neighborhood. I mean, I hate to be in a situation where you gotta bring up old shit. Come on, James, you know the truth. It was in my house. Well, you never been in my house, but outside, me and Buntry, which is my road dog, and you said we got into it before that never happened. Buntry wouldn't go against me for nobody. And I would never let nobody put their motherfucking hands on me. Yeah, that's my dog. He lives always, you know? And you know, I remember when James...
Yeah, this whole situation is just extremely volatile, and again, it just seems like it's a lot to do over nothing at this point because I just don't really understand unless somebody can explain to me what I'm missing. Why is Mob James even speaking about this? Like, nigga, you're not on trial. There's nothing going on where you're looking at jail time, nigga. You was free. So why are you on the stand just giving up everything about everybody is what I just can't quite fathom.
On one of his drug binges, and Pac put him on his pockets. And when Pac put him on his pockets, he was like, Buntry, look what he did. And Buntry was like, oh man, we're gonna start calling you Mob Jamie, you know? But I ain't gonna get into the details of all that, because I ain't gonna get to going back and forth, because at the end of the day, it's not accomplishing life. If you never accomplish nothing, you don't deserve to talk. And Reds, and you know, it's broadcasting some bullshit when they be talking that negative shit. And Reds, you know, I love your mother. She's a great lady. You sitting on there with James, and James talking about he got the 6'4". That 6'4" you talking about is the one I painted white with one of DMX's favorite dogs on the back with the red guts. And they finished paying me all my money, but I said that shit for motherfucking Leo and Russell are weird ass.
You said that in one of your interviews because your baby mother is Southside.
Yeah, she lives outside Fred.
You said that once you got back to LA, you came back to Compton, you were saying how those guys were essentially bragging about what they did.
Exactly. She used to tell me every time they stepped on California Street, our birds doing their thing, or when Puffy them came through and was.
And again, it's like, I see that they're trying to put this on Puffy. So are Keefe D and Mob James working together in a cooperative effort against Puff Daddy and Suge Knight? Wouldn't it be crazy if this all leads back to Diddy, the Diddy Doc? That would be some shit.
Conjugating on the block. everybody was talking. That was just confirmation about what was going, what everybody's theories was anyway.
Yeah, let's get something straight. You never worked for me. I guess so. You never worked at my club. You hung outside getting $50 to get somebody to front of the line. That's how you hustle. We wouldn't know it. I'm inside or I'm not there yet. But you said Keefe drives into my club in the Southside Crips. And you told everybody Southside Crips just left the club. First of all, who would you tell? No one. Second of all, if you say that it's got to around the house and it's got beat up, why you didn't say that? Why you didn't do that? But once again, you knew all this because you said that your baby mama, best friend Paula, and your baby mama, you live in the Southside Crip neighborhood with your baby mama. Your daughter from over there, but she want to go on these shows and lie and keep changing the story. Now, since you knew they was putting money on Pac's head, my head, or anybody else, but you never told no one. Now, Reg, of course, and he was a cop. Your whole family was cops or probation officers. Nothing wrong with that. And I don't have nothing against none of you people. I'm not going to bring up who stole and who lied on me. Don't care. Because it's not about trying to put you down. Now, I'm going to give you some credit. You wore a street that's thicker than James. Reg, you can never be the type of cop James is. James is a way better cop than you.
Reg, you can never be the type of cop that James is. So he's telling Reggie Wright, who's a former cop, that he'll never be as good as a cop as Mob James, who's an informant. And at this point, we can see a cooperant as he's gone on the witness stand, giving up all the information.
He was shooting more up to the penitentiary than anybody.
Alright, y'all, so let me know what y'all think, because, y'all...
So flew Flammer, Skulldugger, it's an extremely larceny situation, man. Big shout out to Top Media TV. We finna get about it to the next one. Reggie Wright, Suge Knight, and Keefe with the body of Tupac. Is Diddy involved? We're gonna figure this thing out, man. Red dot to the left, you know the rest. Say a prayer and be blessed. We go.